He's Bobby, I'm Mark. This is the PozCast, and today we're rewatching Fletch, a movie that really loved, near and dear to my heart, Bobby. And I think I've got a similar take with this movie that you had with Interstellar. If you'll recall, Bob, famously you said, if you do not like Interstellar, I can't be friends with you, quote, unquote. Now, I don't feel that way necessarily about the movie Fletch, because I agree. I think this is a little bit of an acquired taste, Fletch. However, if we're in a conversation hanging around and I say charge it to the Underhills and you look at me and you don't know what I'm talking about, I think that ends the friendship. Correct, Bobby?
Yeah, and if there's any talk of any prostate exams and we're not immediately breaking into Moon River, yeah, you're just not in part of our crew. It's not going to be that fun hanging out. We can be friends, to your point. You know, I'm not going to ruin friendships over it, but it's probably not going to be that good of a hang. It's going to be an awkward 18 holes. It's not going to be great. And it's, this movie's different. Its movie is not as just, well, maybe for me, it wasn't as laugh out loud funny, but we'll talk about why this is, I think, Chevy Chase's best comedic performance. And we'll have that debate a little bit, but it was very good. It's a very good rewatch. It's a very corny movie because in spots, it's trying to be a serious whodunit, which I kind of forgot about that, which is kind of corny and the car chase and everything like that. But for everything that Fletch is supposed to be, it's fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah, no debate. This is my favorite movie of his, my favorite performance of his. And I kind of said it, and I was rewatching this on a plane, laughing hysterically, just kind of bouncing up and down, taking notes. I have no idea what the guy next to me could possibly think was going on. But it got me to thinking, this is the third comedy in a row. Dumb and Dumber, Tommy Boy are far different. It's almost like they're just setting up bits to be intentionally funny. Whereas this movie on the surface, if you just were to read the script, I have no idea if it's funny or not. It's just purely Chevy Chase's ability to deliver these lines. There's a sequence very early in the movie when Fletch meets Alan Stanwyck. They're over at his house, and it just got me. He walks into his house. Nice pad, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Stanwyck's over there. Love what you've done with the garage. Must have cost you hundreds. Well, good idea. I should frame mine. Will the Pope be in later? And it just got me to thinking, what is this? It's just a stream of consciousness that for some reason is just incredibly funny. Did you find that the same thing on the rewatch, Bobby?
I have that as a first section as our intro. It's really not a quote. It's not a scene. It's not a what's holed up. He knocks on the door, and as he's knocking on the door, he says, "Come in," which it's hilarious. That's not a script. That's not anything. The looking at your watch when you have no watch on, I mean, that's perfect him. Muchas gracias, Tierra del Fuego. Remodel the garage must have cost you hundreds. The way he doesn't breathe into the bag when he's hyperventilating, I thought was hilarious. He's just holding the bag there. Yeah, all of those little things make this awesome. And when you think of his three big characters, and we've talked about this before, he's got Clark W. Griswold, he's got Ty Webb, and he's got this. He's mentioned it in what he's talked about as this was his favorite role. He was his most comfortable. You think Clark W. Griswold seems forced, goofy, weird facial expressions, not bad, but trying to be more goofy. And then you got Ty Webb, which is probably just a lot of cocaine, just a lot of, you know what I mean? That's what it feels like, because this is several years after. This is just who probably Chevy Chase wishes he was his whole career. That's what it felt like. Not to sound like an artsy fartsy guy looking at his performance, but that's the way it felt. He was just great, man. All of the little facial expressions, all of the things you mentioned.
Exceptional. And not to mention, Bob, this is the 40-year anniversary as we step back into the greatest year of all time, 1985. Yet
the greatest
once
year of all
again,
time.
This comes out May of 85, directed by Michael Ritchie.
Mark, any idea when Michael Ritchie was born?
No,
1938, Mark. I was looking at it. I was like, wow, that's an old movie. If the director was, now he might have directed it when he was 80 years old. He didn't, but I saw that. I was like, whoa, 1938. Someone is involved in this movie. That's an old movie. That's an old movie.
It is an old movie. He did all the Bad News Bears stuff. So, accomplished. The Golden Child with Eddie, our guy, Eddie Murphy. It's good stuff. Yeah. Chevy Chase. This is my favorite. I think this is his best. Tim Matheson. Interesting tie-in there with Alan Stanwyck. They originally wanted Chevy to be Otter, the famous guy from Animal House, but thought it would be an SNL movie. So they put Matheson in it. No it was a great hire. I mean, Matheson is unbelievable as Otter in Animal House. And then Dana Wheeler-Nicholson, box office, Bobby, $59 million. So it did well. Number 13 worldwide. But again, this thing, much in the way Tommy Boy and some of these comedies, just becomes a cult classic with the DVDs, the run on TV. This movie, for years and years and years, if it was on, I was just never changing the channel. It's kind of the definition of just a funny rewatchable, right?
Yeah, you mentioned Stanwyck's house, same house as Godfather, where the horse head is found in there. I'm sure you saw that in the American Film Institute top 100 funniest movies. I guess it was nominated for it, so that was kind of strange when I saw it. Not many awards for this, Mark. Just there was one nomination. It's kind of funny. You click on IMDb, it says one nomination, and it was the Edgar Allan Poe Award. I had to look up what the Edgar Allan Poe. What do you think they're celebrating? The Edgar Allan Poe.
The writing?
No, it's it has to do with mystery movies. It was nominated. I mean, must have been a thin year. Didn't go deeper to see what it was competing against for best mystery. I'm sure there was probably something better in terms of mystery.
Well, let's look at it. Big year of movies, Bob. The Triumvirate. I know you love that at the top. Number 1, Back to the Future. Number 2, Rambo, First Blood Part 2. And number 3, Rocky 4. I mean, my goodness.
What does it say about the country at that point that Back to the Future beat those two movies? It's a great
probably
movie.
A little more broader appeal, right?
I guess, man. But geez, Rocky.
I mean, you're not bringing your kid to Rambo First Blood Part 2.
I'm bringing him to Rocky 4, though.
Yeah. Who knows? A lot of Sylvester Stallone. Here are some of the other ones. I guess Goonies. I mean, Goonies is a pretty good little mystery. The Breakfast Club. One of your favorites, Bobby. Brewster's Millions.
Oh, love it. Love it. Love it.
Now, when we did Dumb and Dumber, we talked about Jim Carrey's big 3 movies. He did The Mask, Ace Ventura, and Dumb and Dumber, all in the same year. Chevy had a big 85, Bobby. In addition to this, European Vacation and Spies Like Us. Who had the better 3? I think it's Chevy, because I am not a Mask fan. Love Fletch. European Vacation, not the best of the vacations, but really good. And Spies Like Us is tremendous. Who's got the better 3?
Maybe a tiny bit of Prisoner of the Moment. I mean, that's Dumb and Dumber and Ace Ventura. Well, these are iconic. These are iconic too, but it's the one is as good. It drops off after 2 and 3, but maybe the power of Fletch brings it through, but probably Jim Carrey. A better triumvirate. Could we have a triumvirate of triumvirates? Is there anything else?
We'll get in. Yeah, you stumped me. Geometry, always tough. But I always love to do this anytime we do a movie from 1985. Out of all of those, Bobby, Out of Africa, somehow, with the Best Picture award that year. What's interesting about this and Caddyshack, which we have done to harken back to another Chevy Chase character in Ty Webb, probably up for the worst sequels in history in Caddyshack 2 and Fletch Lives. Of the two, Bobby, which one do you think is the worst? Because I think it's a 2-horse race, the worst sequel of all time.
Caddyshack 2. I don't, like when Fletch 2 Fletch Lives didn't really come out in our sequels podcast, is it? But Caddyshack 2 certainly did. I think it's Caddyshack 2.
You know, I think I was more disappointed with Fletch Lives than I was with Caddyshack 2 because look, in Caddyshack, they don't bring back half the cast. You know, it's like a whole different deal. You're missing all the good guys. Fletch Lives has got Chevy. I mean, they're the newspaper guys there. Nobody else from the first one that I remember. And I was just, I think, more disappointed because I loved Fletch. Like, how do you mess this up? But they did. They did not.
Alan Stanwyck not in Fletch Lives because he's murdered, which I kind of forgot.
Yeah, tough beat there, Chief Carlin.
Oh.
Bob, I don't know if you did this or looked at it. I'd like to look at it right now. But, of course, Kareem plays a really nice part in this movie. And it got me to thinking best athlete cameos in movies. Did you do a deep dive on this? I've got some for you. I want to run through because I think not Kareem in this one, but Kareem in Airplane, I think is largely regarded as, hey, that's the epicenter, that's the peak, that's the apex of an athlete being the athlete in the movie. Here are some others, Bobby. You're the aficionado on this.
So again, Memento podcast here. We're doing a Hall of Fame plaque.
Not a Hall of Fame plaque. Not a Hall of Fame plaque. We've looked at Chevy Chase's career. Who else are you really going to talk about?
No, what you're about to say.
This.
You're about, okay, I got you. Go ahead.
Brett Favre in Something About Mary. Pretty notable there. Lance Armstrong in Dodgeball. I think that was before we knew Lance Armstrong had essentially cheated, but oh well. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in Ricky Bobby. Mike Tyson in The Hangover. It's going to be really good. Dan Marino. We've done it. Ace Ventura. Smokin' Joe, the beloved Mr. Joe Frazier in Rocky. That's really him in there. Lee Trevino and Happy Gilmore. Larry Bird and Blue Chips. Shout out to Coach McCall, just the hardest working man in show business. Hulk Hogan. Now, he was technically Thunder Lips in Rocky 3, but we all know who he was. But I think is Airplane and Fletch Kareem, or is it Mike Tyson in The Hangover? What do you think?
Are you punking me right now? Are you
I'm
leaving?
setting you. It's called the setup, Bob.
Are you leaving one out just so we get tossed out of the city of Chicago anytime we go back in? It's Jordan in Space Jam. Are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah, but I'm talking about a cameo. He was literally the star.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah.
There can be no sports athlete cameo, even though he's not really Mike Tyson at the time. There is no athlete cameo talked about and not say it's the best. It's Tyson in Hangover at the peak of his acting powers, maybe not at the peak of his athletic ability. Maybe.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Although he still got it.
Still got it. Bob, I'm really excited to debut a new award that you're going to share with us. I do not recall a helicopter in this movie, but Bob, debut for us your helicopter rating for Fletch.
And so I'm imagining the helicopter noises phasing out right now. Mark, you are the hardest working show in podcasting. Rogan's got Jamie. Jamie's got nothing on you. Jamie's got an easy gig. He's got all the gear. You got nothing. You got a mic. You got a AirPods that still have a cord on them, and who knows what kind of computer Watson Pharmaceuticals is giving you or wherever you work. So the scale is going to be 0 to 100. Okay. 0 to 100, and I've got Die Hard as a 94, which is our highest rated movie.
That's it. That's okay.
Yeah,
Die Hard is a 94. I love it.
Die Hard is a 94 in terms of helicopters, and this is a 0. There'll be lots of zeros. I didn't even see. I kept my eye out for maybe like a magazine cover with a helicopter on it. That could get a couple points here and there. A reference of a helicopter. This was close. We're at a hangar with private jets. I was trying to catch a glimpse of a helicopter. So this gets a 0. Our first debut, it gets a 0, but the gold standard is Die Hard with a 94 rating, helicopter rating.
I love it. I think the follow-up there is like, I thought there was an opportunity to put one in that car chase, maybe a police helicopter kind of overseeing it. Anywhere else you'd have thrown one in there?
Yeah, or at the hangar when G. Gordon Liddy gets in there and looks for the rotary on the specs on the girder. They could have just been one sitting there. He works for a newspaper. Don't they have helicopters running around to do special investigations? But there could have been one. But no, a helicopter rating of 0, but I'm sure we'll have more to come on that.
A miss. Well, other than your helicopter award, Bob, anything here? You said the movie only won one award, the Edgar Allan Poe. So the Golden Schmo is probably not invented yet.
Not invented yet. No nominations. No nothing. So kind of short there. Was rated PG for flashing lights. It was the only thing listed. You're laughing and shaking your head because you saw that too. Maybe we need to have a flash. That's the new category. A helicopter ranking and a flashing lights ranking. And see, scale of one, I would imagine what would be our highest ranked flashing lights movie so far.
Interstellar
comes to mind. Lot going on there. But no, nothing else, man. Let's get into some of the categories.
All right, plenty of just goofy scenes, all of his costumes, all of his identities, just kind of literally relentless one after another. Hard to pick out a favorite scene, Bob, but where do you go?
Well, I was really impressed with the car chase. There was some, it goes back to, I always say, hey, is it worth it for the stunt people? Well, like when they say, hey, this is a Fletch movie, this is a Chevy Chase movie, you're going to ramp off this hill in a police motorcycle and in midair just fly off. And he's like, is this a UFO movie? Is this a Christopher Nolan movie? He's like, no, it's not going to really have anything to do with the story. And the cars crashing are all real. So the car chase was more fun than I remember. I love he lost in my scene stealer, but the teenage kid in the car was awesome.
Agreed.
But I don't think there can be any scene better than the prostate exam. I mean, it's the best. The most quotable lines come from that 10-second, interaction with the good doctor. So I think that's my favorite scene.
It's mine too. It's kind of the one I wait for. I could have used this in every little award.
Yeah.
Moon River, Bob. Give me a little Moon River.
Moon River.
It's just great. You ever serve time
Yeah.
using the whole fist stock. And another just underrated, I don't know if you go there with this, but the Mr. Babar, 2 B's or 1? He says 1, and he spells it out. I thought you meant
B-A-B-A-R.
right together. I mean,
you meant
just an
together.
incredible line, right?
Yeah. Well, at the end too, he's like, I found nothing. Well, it wasn't for a lack of trying. I mean, every single line is awesome. Yeah, I think that's the scene. I think that's the scene. The Underhills. Anytime he's with Mrs. Stanwyck, I forget her name.
Gail
is very, very good. I mean, we're going to get into quotes here, but yeah. I think that's it.
Yeah, that's what I had under honorable mention, the Underhills. And then literally just the Boyd Aviation with G. Cordelity, the Fetzer valve, and tremendous amount of muck on this thing. It just, he's got those, he kept the teeth.
Yeah,
he used to
I saw
wear
that.
those out and people wouldn't recognize him. I don't know how. And it's like, Christopher Reeve putting the glasses on and he's Clark Kent.
Yeah, exactly.
All of a sudden. But those would be the big ones. Now, quotes, we are prisoners of the moment in this. And I think when we did Caddyshack, I think we probably agreed that was the most quotable. You were a man on fire to harken back to that last week with quotes. So do you go with Tommy Boy over this? Like there is just I have a ton, but what do you think's the most?
Well, I would say this. I would say the pages, I had a full page of quotes from Tommy Boy, but you're right. I was on fire. I was in Moment Island. It was, it was like I was in the jail of the moment. I was just on fire for that movie. So more quotable probably, but more well used quotes. Mark, I don't want to steal any of your thunder, so why don't you tell me your favorite? Because I'll go through the ones that are used monthly, if not weekly.
Yeah, wow. The John Cocktoson, like you just would say that. What kind of a name is Poon? Comanche Indian? I think you're always kind of throwing that out. Dr. Rosen, Dr. Rosenpenis. These are just things that are said. The one thing I really do like, it might be a little bit off the radar, and some guys at work will catch this, but when you're writing something or you're showing something up on a screen, you say, if this were all legible, you know exactly what I was talking about. I love that line. Provo, Spain, Provo, Utah, can I borrow your towel? My car just hit a water buffalo. And then one that I had forgotten about, which was fun doing this, that whole thing. Will the Pope be in later? What is that? It's just funny. But when she says, who are you again? I'm Frida's boss. Yeah. Who's Frida? My secretary.
My secretary. Wow, that's amazing. You just ripped some off and did not hit any of the ones. Well, can I borrow a car? Can I borrow your towel?
Yeah.
Well, I know you're not missing them. I know that you've got them written down, but the ones I starred that will be used is obviously put it on the Underhills. Is there any time that you're around a pool or whatever, say it's put it on the Underhills?
Hey, Bob, on that. I don't know if you drink Bloody Marys, but when you're at brunch, do you not go, I'll take a Bloody Mary, a steak sandwich, and a steak sandwich?
That was my next one. I'll take a steak sandwich and a steak sandwich. You have caviar, a beluga, but it's $80 a serving. In that case, what?
Better just have 2 then.
Yeah, so in that case, anybody says that. Yeah, Uncle Jeff, he loves a good bottle of wine. And he's like, wow, how much is that? Oh, in that case, I'll just take 2. The Moon River, anytime you're talking about that, and it's all ball bearings nowadays. So the Underhills, steak sandwich and a steak sandwich. In that case, I'll just have 2. Oh, have you ever seen a spleen like that? No, not since breakfast.
You said it in one of your diatribes there, but the muchas gracias, tiro del fuego. It just gets
tiro
me
del fuego.
every time.
Yeah, if I had a nickel for every one of Alan's Flyboy buddies that hit on me, I'd be a rich woman. You are a rich woman. 6'5", 6'9" with the afro. Excuse you? Those are all the kind of the little ones that aren't quotes. But the one I never recognize, and I haven't seen this movie for a while, is I just love knocking on the door. It says, come in.
It's just stuff like that. It's just, like the quotes, and I think you said it, like if you try to say, hey, did you hear what Nate Bargatze said? It just doesn't work. You did a great job last week, I thought, with Tommy Boy. These are even harder to make work because what he's saying is not funny necessarily, right? It's the way he does it. Like the whole thing when he's at the airport, he's trying to figure out if he bought a ticket, last name Kavanaugh. Morris or Pierre? And she goes, Sally Ann? Yes, Sally Ann. Yes. And where she's sitting, because I like to sit by myself. She's sitting next to you.
You bought the ticket.
I didn't want her sitting next to me. Just that exchange is just incredible, and it's his delivery is just amazing. Did we miss any, Bob? Any more that you liked there?
No, those are the ones. Those are the ones for sure.
Not I Love Your Body, Larry, which just is 40 years. My goodness, little brother. What holds up for you on this thing? I got a million.
You got a million. Yeah, a dictaphone. Now, not the actual dictaphones, but like now talk to text is I do that more often than not. I tell you what, Mark, little offshoot here. So I always thought the iPhone would just start not like reading my thumbprints just to make me get a new phone. Turns out it's just I got a new phone and it still doesn't. Have you used the just drag your finger to the letters?
No. Does it work?
Amazing.
And it knows what you want.
Mark, I have no idea how. I will hunt and peck and it won't get it, but I'll slide my thing and it'll get it immediately, which blows my mind.
85, Bob, America. Was it at its height? I mean, now we got this. Maybe we're coming back.
I tell you what, Coach, I can brag about this. Bragging is not the word. I can tell this story with no sense of pretentiousness because I didn't pay the bill, but I just was able to go on a golf trip and flew on a private plane. I didn't pay for it. I'm not bragging. I was very lucky to get invited. That's it. So hold all your text messages and all your comments about this, that, and the other. I got invited. I didn't pay for it. It was awesome. It was cool. You know what holds up? Private planes, Mark. Oh, my gosh. I mean, It's a little scary. The plane is a little small. But, man, just, you show up, you're on the plane 5 minutes later, you land, you get right in the thing and go. It was amazing. And you know what's crazy is now I'm going to sound like I'm an expert in private planes, which I'm not. That private plane, that hangar where they're at, all the private planes that are in there, they look the exact same. Like it's nothing for a plane to be 35 years old. I think the plane we were on was like 40 years old. I was like, should we be concerned? Like, no, it's in its heyday. I'm like, all right, whatever. I guess the engine is the key part, Mark.
Yeah,
the engine.
It's like a boat.
In my experience, in my private plane travel, it's about the engine.
Perfect.
Yeah. So the you know what holds up is the waiter being in on sticking it to the underhills. Never caught that before. The waiter knows, the underhills. Okay. I love that the fact that he's in on that. Retro jerseys. You know that, I mean, it would be very normal to go see a retro Magic Johnson jersey walking down the street. And a great car chase, maybe, we've talked about this, maybe a touch too long. Jason, the Bourne Identity, the car chases, Bond, they just go on forever. This one was good. It was a good timed car chase. Could have been a little shorter, but a good car chase holds up for sure.
Yeah, the hour and 30 minutes holds up. I mean, just tight, no wasted movement. They don't drag the ending out. I was almost a little disappointed. I was flying out to the West Coast and, this thing's over and I'm over Arkansas. I had to fill in the rest of the details there. But love the runtime narrator. My guy Chevy providing a little narration up front. The music. How about the synth pop out of Harold Faltermeyer? I'm going to jump ahead, Bob, real quick to my Hall of Fame plaque. Send us a little time on the back end. Harold Faltermeyer, Bobby. Fletch. Beverly Hills Cop. Do, 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 do,
yeah.
do, do. That whole thing. Top Gun. Bong. What would Harold Faltermeyer's Hall of Fame plaque be? It's not Fletch because it's not recognizable. But Axel Foley, Beverly Hills Cop, and the beginning of Top Gun. What do you go with?
Well, it has to be Top Gun, but I mean, the Axel Foley is amazing. You hear that come on, you know exactly what you're watching. But you hear that bong, oh my gosh, and you know you're in.
Goosebumps right there. Chevy Chase holds up. Drugs in California, I'm guessing sadly hold up. Sarcasm, which I maybe this was what got me in to just sarcastic, witty humor and why I like Deadpool, or maybe used to like Deadpool. Life insurance, Bobby, holds up. You didn't go there. Coupled with insurance fraud. I don't know why I've never asked you this, Bob. Is this a big thing in the industry? Like somebody's dying and did he sneak in a little faked attempted murder here to try to get the policy? What kind of safeguards are in place, Bob, with life insurance?
So there's usually a 2-year contestability period where if you off yourself, then it doesn't pay. But the life insurance companies stand, and they're all different. I can only speak for the one I work with. After 2 years, they don't feel the family should be penalized for a bad decision the insured made. But also, you can't get these things unless there's extensive testing. Now, extensive is the nurse comes out there. I'm sure, nurses have off days. They check medical records. That's why you go to just be very sure you need a doctor to go to the doctor because there's records of all of it. I told you the story. I've never had heartburn in my life, and I got it 2 years ago. And it was just odd. I had to go, and then it just went away. I'm like, gosh darn it! Now that's on my thing. If I need more life insurance, they're going to decline it. All that stuff. But no, there's some safeguards in there, Marcus. There's some safeguards in there. You don't worry.
So had he pulled this off, would this have worked, Bobby? Alan Stanwyck's plan? Do you think that was foolproof?
They're going to want a death certificate. And to go back, one of my questions, I don't want to spoil it, but can you imagine the shenanigans that were going on before the technology we have now? So yes, in 85, they're 100% getting away with it. Oh, those charred remains? Yeah, that's him. All right, well, okay, here we go. I don't know. Your word is as good as mine. I don't know.
Yeah, about the same size. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, look good.
You know what holds up, Bobby, weirdly, to this day, is the Coors Light Banquet. Did you notice the yellow can that he had in there? Now, I think Rip brought those back. He was big into the banquets on Yellowstone. You know who else? Our guy Johnny Lawrence in the Cobra Kai is just crushing banquets. I think that's like a thing now. Kids are drinking the banquet, so that clearly held up.
Coach, you walked right into this. I didn't want to bring any private plane stories, but you brought it up. Guess what I had on the plane to calm the fears a little bit? A Bud Heavy. A red label Bud Heavy. Kind of the same.
Incredible. The ability to BS your way through things clearly holds up. What a skill.
Yep.
And then the final thing I think I would have is just the quotes. I mean, these quotes will live on 40 years. It's like you saw the movie yesterday, and I just love when guys can pull this off. And you just would love to wonder, like when this guy was writing this screenplay and writing all this stuff, did he have any idea that this was possibly going to work? I mean,
you got Chevy Chase.
Did they know this in the moment?
I don't know. You got Chevy Chase, and this is not his first movie. Like if this was his first one, you'd maybe be wondering, but you kind of know you got an all-star to lead the cast. So I don't know, but I don't know if he knows that, like all these movies we do, that us two morons would be talking, staring at a computer screen at 8:30 at night doing this together.
How much of this do you think was ad-libbed? How much was Chevy just going off the rails?
How much of Chevy's dialogue was ad-libbed, or the whole thing? Oh, well, 75%? Is this the closest to the pin? 75%?
I love it. All right, Bobby. What questions you got for Erwin and Fletcher?
I've got some questions here. Hold on. Not Bob's big questions. No. Bob's question. What was Gina Davis doing in this movie? She was in the...
Love your body, Larry.
What was she doing in this movie? Like, as I watched it, I'm like, did they end up together? Am I remembering this wrong? Is she supposed to be like the spunky assistant? There was clearly some attraction between the two. This wasn't her first movie. I looked at her IMDb. She wasn't a superstar, but she was a good actress. What was she doing in this movie, Mark? Answer that question.
Yeah, I think answer. Yeah, she's the spunky little assistant. Try to add a little sex appeal. One thing that this movie strayed away from was the gratuitous nude scene. That all the 80s comedies would have. Look, I think somebody saw her hey, this girl's going to be famous. Let's stick her in here. This is years before Thelma and Louise, so might have been early in the repertoire.
Yeah, and it goes right. Why no gratuitous boob scenes? That's my next question. When did we stray away from this? staying on Gina Davis, why doesn't her middle finger work? Do you see when they left the room and they flicked them off and she's like, can't get her middle finger to work? What's going on with her finger, I wonder?
Didn't notice.
Mark, listen, and we just talked about this. In the mid-'80s, how many poor, underprivileged people that can't afford an attorney were in prison from just bad cops? Yeah. I mean, there had to be thousands, correct? The way they planted that heroin on them, there's no cameras, there's no evidence, there's no nothing. I mean, percentage of people wrongly imprisoned in the mid-'80s, Mark, closest to the pin. What do you got?
Just to be clear, we back the blue here.
Of course we do.
Our friends
of course we do.
But
the answer is...
It's over 50%.
Wow. I was like, wow, there's just no, like, because we really backed the blue back then. I mean, the cops could do literally anything they want. Like, no, heroin was on them. All right, throw him away. Throw away the key. Give him the electric chair. Had to be pretty bad. Had to be pretty bad. Posada Consulting, $50,000 to kill him and go to Rio for a year. $50,000 in today's day is $150,000. You're going to kill someone for $150,000? Why is Stanwyck so cheap?
Well, I think the theory, I mean, he thought Fletch was just some burnout on the beach, and $50,000 had been like saying, here's $20 million, you know?
Well, even burnouts can do math, can't they? I tried to look at a place in Rio on the beach. Rio doesn't look like a place we want to. The Copacabana is in Rio. Did we know this? Did you know that? There's a place... No. Or it's called something that's close to the Copacabana.
It's the hottest spot north of Havana.
So
why would it be there? That's not north of Havana.
Are you
sure
positive
the Copacabana? Hottest spot south of Havana? I don't know. I'll have to look into that.
I'll look into that. But anyway, like a one-bedroom, just crap hole of an apartment on the beach in Rio is like $2,000 a month. So that's 20. You know, you got $24,000. You only got $2,000 a month to live in Rio after your rent's done. It's just not enough. Even if you're a burnout junkie, you got to know that. So our boy, what's his name? Chief Carlin. I had to look on my worst parent notes to get that one. Chief Carlin murders someone, and he's the head of a drug ring while being the chief of police, and he gets only 20 years in prison? Mark, what is his sentence today? I mean, I think they draw and quarter him like William Wallace, correct?
Ooh, tough beef for Joe Don Baker. Yeah, that seems a little bit light. Probably for murder. I mean, it was murder, right?
Oh my God, it's first degree. I mean, that was not good. You weren't as taken aback at the 20-year sentence. You barely even acknowledged that. You're like, whatever. Everybody deserves a second chance.
Fletch. He's spitting at the end.
I tell you what. Could there have been this type of just nonchalantness in hospitals with the cleanliness and sterileness of a room? He just turns around and a guy is just ripping open a cadaver, harvesting organs out of there. There's no screen, there's no mask, there's no nothing. Mark, you're in hospitals. If I know the guy's dead, but like, wouldn't that be in more of a sterile environment? Or maybe not. I don't know. I don't spend much time in hospitals, thank God.
Stay away from hospitals is all I'll say. Don't want to go there.
Oh, really? Expound a little bit more. What do you mean? I don't want to be in hospitals. What do you mean? Bad place?
Just it's not the pristine, clean, sanitary environment you might expect. That's why you get a lot of infections staying in the hospital. It's one of the worst places you can be. There's a lot going on there. You know, one of the most disgusting things or germ, bacteria-ridden things they say, I don't know, like in a hospital, it's a doctor's tie. That's why they don't want them wearing ties. There's so much filth and tremendous amount of gook on the tie, Bobby. Don't wear ties.
Wait. All right, Bob's. No, I got it. I'll save that for Bob's big question. Hold on. All right, yeah, that's all the questions I got. Pretty good movie.
I got a couple on tennis, Bob. Was Gail Stanwyck the worst tennis player you've ever seen in a movie?
And you would think if she knows how to work that machine, she's done this before. I mean, she has no clue of what she's doing.
She's got a cabana at the club. She's spending a lot of time there. Clearly not working on her tennis. The follow-up, Bobby. You mentioned our guy Chief Carlin after he murdered Otter. Gail Stanwyck hits him with a tennis racket in his shoulder and just knocks him clean out.
It's
How do you explain that?
my last Bob's big question. Do you think you could knock me out unconscious with a tennis racket to the shoulder?
I don't think so.
I
think I can hit you as hard as I possibly could with a driver in your shoulder. You're just going to be in pain. You're not.
Although some
out.
of those kung fu movies where they go, I got like there might be something there. You don't know.
No, you think it's like Spock. You think it's like the Vulcan death grip.
No, I think it's like in Man on Fire 3 when he's in that little Italian villa and the guy comes and he grabs his thumb. He's like, you see, this is your metacarpal ball bearing, and a pressure level. I'm at a 2. At a 5, you go unconscious. Maybe it's one of those. You know what I mean? Like, and Gail Stanwyck can't hit a tennis racket, but she's a jiu-jitsu like black belt. Maybe.
Maybe she's a ninja. To your point about the car chase, Bobby, would Fletch have been in just maybe a small amount of trouble after all that?
I think so. I mean, he put a lot of people's lives in danger. You put people's lives in danger.
What happened to Ed McMahon and the Publishers Clearinghouse? Why did they get rid of that? Remember how fun that was? I could see that.
I think because it's a Ponzi scheme, and somebody took an Uzi to that place and said, "No one ever wins this." It's like it took its place. Joe Bay's gonna love this. You know, it took its place. The 50-50 raffle at Major League Baseball games and all sporting events. Joe Bay contends. He goes, "Have you ever won the 50-50? Do you know anyone who's ever won the 50-50?" He contends. Nobody has ever won the 50-50. It's just a scam.
A breaking story here on the podcast. We need to look into this.
A breaking story. I think he doesn't believe in dentistry either. He thinks all dentists and orthodontists are all just a huge scam. I could be mistaken, my friends there. But I think Joe Bay hates the 50-50 and hates the dentist, I think.
All right. Well, that's Joe Bay. One last thing. I don't know if it's as a question as much as an observation. Do you remember the microfilm in the library? You know when he's going back and looking at those? How old is that?
Microfiche. Microfiche. You know what's the really, really sad part, Mark? Could I have looked at microfiche in college? I think I could have.
Yeah, I would get. Yeah, I'd almost guarantee it. I believe I did. Yeah.
Yeah, you're very, very old. But we look at this and we're like, oh, that's 100 years ago. I think I looked at microfiche in college. How did we write papers? Like, this is one source.
No ChatGPT back
then? No
then?
ChatGPT.
No,
my TikTok is filled with like teachers' assistants just going berserk on college students. They're like, you're not even effing trying. This is the first search on ChatGPT.
They have gotten better, since that all started. Chelsea, my daughter, who's in college, has some online classes, and apparently there is some sort of interface or software where they you can't get off the screen, like to go search on ChatGPT when you're taking the test. Somehow they know. So they've gotten a little bit better. They use reverse ChatGPT.
I thought you were going to say there's a new one that then you just upload a student's thing and that it ChatGPT's the ChatGPT. Maybe that's how maybe that's how the robots don't kill us. They just like negate each other. It's like ChatGPT, and they just explode or something.
I did see a funny meme on ChatGPT. I know we did Terminator recently, and it's Sarah Connors looking at the screen like with just a disgusted look, and it's basically the face Sarah Connor gives you when you're talking to ChatGPT. I thought it was pretty good. All right, it's award time. Bobby, we're going to hand out some awards for Fletch. We start, as always, with the Matthew McConaughey Award for the best scene stealer of the movie. I got to admit, this movie had a bazillion little people kind of flying in and out that were stealing some scenes. I had one that I just love for a very special reason, Bobby, but where did you go?
Uncle Phil, James Avery. Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was a crooked cop. I'm looking at him like, who is that? And then it dawned on me. I liked seeing him being a bad guy. And the runner-up is the teenager in the car. Did you realize he was stealing that car? I didn't. He was stealing that car. He's like, am I going to get in trouble for stealing this car? Did you steal this car? Yeah, you might be in trouble. That's my scene stealer.
It's excellent. Yeah, Gummy was up there for a while for me. But you know who I went with, Bob? Nico Da Silva, the waiter. Just reminds me of Johnny Guitard. I feel like just hanging out.
I think that's racist. I think what you just said was racist.
I just love the guy, and I love that you picked up. He's in on it after a while, and just it's great. I just thought he was spectacular. Plus, he's part of some of the most famous lines, quotes, and movie history.
He's great. It doesn't remind me of Johnny Guitar just because of he's Latin American descent. I don't group people by their ethnicity. Love Johnny.
Oh, it's because he was short. I don't know where you're going. He's short.
Oh, maybe I'm the racist. Wait a minute.
For the first time in PozCast history, the big Tom Callahan Award for Best Parent. I've been so excited to do it. We missed this way back when we started. Let's give the little history lesson here. It was the Liam Neeson Award for Best Parent because, as you know, in Taken, our guy Liam Neeson was just unbelievable as a parent. We then watched Deadpool, and Deadpool took a shit, right, Bobby, on Liam Neeson. Did. Basically said he was a bad parent. So we went on this arduous search that I went on. Finally landed on Mr. Miyagi, who was great until we watched Tommy Boy. And he's going to be tough to unseat, wouldn't you think?
It's absolutely perfect. He's a perfect father. He touches on all the things because he's got Mr. Miyagi, not a lot of cash in the bank, although his residence was surprisingly nice and he had a lot of cars out there. So maybe but he's tremendously wealthy. Yeah, he's the perfect. I can't say, hey, one of my favorite moments is something I did. I loved the executive order. Me and you talked about it. Had to be done. It was as clear cut as I've ever been. It's the big Tom Callahan Best Parent Award. Gonna be tough to wrangle it away from him.
Yeah, no one in this movie is going to wrangle it away from him. But where'd you go? I'll just tell you where I went, Bobby. In the rich scheme, Old Man Boyd, Stanton Boyd. You don't see him much. He does ask him what kind of a name Poon is, but he was the richest guy I could find. Probably some pretty good scruples, you know. Kenneth Mars, the actor. Old Man Stanton Boyd, Bobby.
I went with Gina Davis. Hard worker. Seemed pretty loyal. Didn't, cause a fuss when she lost out on Fletch. Lost out on Fletch to Gale. So.
Well, there you go. One award for Gina Davis. The Jenny Award for the worst parent in the movie, Bobby. I think I know where you, Chief Carlin. I think you kind of leaked it.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody worse in this movie than Chief Carlin, right? I mean, there's a lot of people.
Ted Underhill. He was terrible, Bobby. Come on. William Traylor. He's yelling at our guy Nico Da Silva, just ranting and raving. Mrs. Stanwyck. He's just off his geezer the whole time. I didn't like him. Joe Don Baker was bad. Chief Carlin was a bad human being, but I had to go with Mr. Ted Underhill.
So the guy who got, I think he tossed this one up like a big old softball. The guy who got a hose for a $400 lunch bill that wasn't his and demands answers. You're going to leave your children with the drug ring murderer, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Just wondering. Just curious.
eBay Award. Item from the movie that you'd most want, Bobby. I got one perfect for you. It'd go great right next to that Rocky poster. What do you got?
Yeah, I just think, although you probably couldn't get it to where you could distinguish it. Oh, that's from Fletch. But I was thinking just that retro jersey, maybe with Fletch across the back, maybe something like that. I didn't see a lot. Did I miss one? Did I miss an easy one?
A poster of his Jane Doe column. Right behind you. That's there, pretty Bobby. Good. He had him listed there. I think that'd be pretty good. Yeah, the Laker thing, I was trying to think of it. Some of his identifications would be pretty good, like the G. Gordon Liddy or something like that, or Don Corleone, or whatever these things had that maybe he could throw out there.
That's a very, very good one. I missed out. I struggled finding something in this one.
Yeah, I mean, look, there was clearly not a ton. Bobby, you've outlined a few poor decisions that have occurred here, either with Fletch or some of these other folks. What would win the Terrence Howard Award for the worst decision in Fletch?
I think it's that airline company for hiring that person at the ticket counter who just divulges any information this person asked for. Now, I know this is pre-9/11. You can do literally whatever you want in the airport. But I don't even think in 1985 you can just go up with no ID and get all the information about everything without some sort of filtration, correct?
You're probably right. 2 weeks ago, Dumb and Dumber, where Lloyd just runs through the airport, runs.
There's a wood sign that's at Aspen, and when the plane left, they took the wood sign out. That's for real. That's amazing.
He's like, that's okay. I'm a limo driver, and he runs right down the jetway. Yeah, it's amazing that that's not that long ago. You could just run amok in an airport. I mean, you could literally stand at the gate and say, "Hey, how was your flight?" It's kind of crazy.
It is kind of crazy. Are we any safer today? I don't know.
The weird thing is it seemed less crowded with all that. Like, imagine in the Atlanta airport, Bobby, if you could be in there without taking a flight. Would there be any room to walk anywhere?
Yeah, where would the bottlenecks be? Like, I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question. Where would people go? I don't know.
Yeah, be crazy.
Well, now that I normally fly private, we don't run into those.
Naturally. Yeah, not a lot of weight, not a lot of TSA over there. All right, time in the episode, Bobby, where you're going to lay out your big questions for me.
Well, this one just added, when is the last time you saw a doctor with a tie on? I mean,
none of my doctors wear ties.
I know. That's why you said, "Hey, the nastiest thing in a hospital is a doctor's tie." My question is, I mean, a tie. I'm lucky if they're wearing a shirt that would be sold in a normal store. I mean, they're all just scrubs and all this. So I think we're good in any.
We probably need to check with Dr. Tom. You think Dr. Tom's throwing a tie on, Bobby, in that allergy office?
Boy, for some reason, I could definitely see him wearing a tie, right?
Seems like it, right?
Yeah.
You might have to caution him on that. Hopefully he gets them dry cleaned.
Well, I think he's always, I mean, if we say the hangover joke one more time, like, hey, if someone has a heart attack, you should still call 911. So I think he's probably saying, hey, no, I'm for real. And we know, Dr. Tom, we know you're for real. All right, so in 1985, Fletch says that the Lakers need a new power forward. Mark, who is the power forward for the 1985 Los Angeles Lakers?
James Worthy?
I knew you were going to guess that. A little before. Mitch Kupchak, which is great because it just made me think of Mitch Kupstein. Which I thought it was perfect. I didn't even set that up, but that was the power forward. Ever use a fire escape to enter a building?
No, I've been on a fire escape, but never use it as like an entrance or an exit for that matter.
Yeah, I did. We went to well, I guess I never entered through it. No, I think you're right. I was on a fire escape. I've never entered it. So Fletch seems to be a pretty prominent guy at this newspaper. And I think these people can make some decent money. If Fletch's alimony is $918 a month, how much money is Fletch making?
Oh, is there a formula for this?
So I'm so glad you said that. If Mary picked up my phone and needed to Google something, the last Google search was, what's the formula for alimony?
Oh, that's fantastic. Bob, stay alive. We need you to stay alive.
Exactly.
Change that.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's these lawyers do such a great job because they know, like, okay, that's the first question you would think of when you're thinking of a divorce. So it's like, well, the formula can be this or that. What you really need is a great attorney to start doing, So it just floods you into all these attorneys. But I didn't even think twice. Started to type in, and I was like, wow, that's not a good Google search. The answer is there's no formula. But what do you think? We don't know anything about her. We don't know if she had a job. We don't think there's any kids, right? I don't think there's any kids involved. No. So how much money is he making?
So a newspaper reporter in 1985. I mean, is he making 30 grand, 30, 40 grand?
He's in LA and he's got a very successful column. I mean, he's pretty important. I would think he'd make more than that, right? And if his alimony is $918, that's after tax, correct? So that seems like a lot.
I don't know. PozCast Movie Consulting Group right there. Come on.
I tell you what, I don't know. Mark, have you ever put anything on the Underhills bill? Have you ever shafted an unsuspecting person with a bill?
Wow. I have left some bills. I don't know who I'm paying for them.
D&D.
Yeah, sadly. It's stupid. But no, never like, hey, put it on such and such tab. Have you? I don't know that I've ever pulled that.
We have. So we went on a cruise. This was pre-Mary. We went on a cruise. Only cruise I've ever been on was me, all the usual suspects. Me, Fresh, LaCitra, Weirda, Bradshaw. And, of course, we put everything we ordered. LaCitra found the unsuspecting Mark. And I just don't know how didn't they know that we were doing this? We were a group of 22-year-old morons on the cheapest cruise you could buy, staying basically in the steam room, like not the cool steam room, like the steam engine room. Like I don't even know where we were down there. And yeah, it's like, put it on the Underhills, room 418. They're like, yes, sir. I mean, so you've never done that, but you've dined and dashed. You dined and dashed. All right. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the room inside Bruce Wayne's bedroom where he goes to change, super secret, and 1 being on the top of an overpass with no hiding at all, where were the best place to meet the drug pin captain of the LA Police Department to make a drug money switch?
Great call. Yeah, that could have been the Terrence Howard worst decision, right? That was -20.
So I did a horrible job setting that up, but it's Stanwyck goes to meet Chief Carlin to get money for the end of the scene to frame Fletch, and he drives for 30 minutes and stops on top of an overpass, no hiding whatsoever. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. At the end of the movie, Alan Stanwyck, when he meets up with Fletch, he's wearing a sport coat with a Lakers jersey on, and he's got this hat. The hat is just a green hat, nothing on it. Mark, have you ever put a hat on that is just one color, nothing on it?
No, I recently got this black hat, but it's got like this little UFUS logo thing on it. It's the closest thing I have. But you know what's interesting about that, Bobby? You watch Succession, right?
Yeah.
The Roys just wore black or gray hats. I almost thought it was like a rich thing. Like, is that like a rich, like, hey, I'm just throwing on a gray hat? Is that what that is?
It's a great point. Yes, the Roys do it because it's like, okay, give me give me an Hermes hat. Like, that's nothing to me. I'm so rich, that's nothing to me. So yeah, maybe that's the move. But Stanwyck, he hustled Gale out of $3 million. He didn't hustle Gale out of $300 million. Yeah. So put a damn emblem on your hat, Alan. I mean, you can't just wear a plain. There's nothing on it, just nothing on it. It's weird. So the soundtrack you mentioned, okay, and it's not great. Meaning, like, it doesn't hold up. There is no movies made today. We like it. It's nostalgic. It's cool. There's no movies being made today with that soundtrack. Agreed?
Yeah, that's a completely like if you just, that's from the 80s. You just know.
So, thank you. Is there a possibility that in 30, 40 years, we look back at the same way? To let people know, Mark and I love Interstellar, you show me a movie trailer with a ball, we're in. But is there a point where that's just like, can you believe we used to like that?
I guess it has to be, right?
I refuse to believe it. I refuse to believe it. No, the last one I was saving for that one for last. But could you knock me out unconscious with a tennis racket to the shoulder? But I think we litigated that. I think she was a ninja. There's something right there that you just, bam, it just takes you out. So good job, Mark. You win because I know you love this movie.
Ooh, I love it. Yeah, it's a great movie device. Just the hitting and knocking somebody out. It happens everywhere. The gun to the back of the neck is a real popular one. I just don't. Yeah. How many times have you ever seen somebody just knocked out?
I've seen it a couple times, and it's nauseating. And it wasn't from a tennis racket to the shoulder. I'll tell you that right now.
No, it was not. The Rudy Sack Award, Bobby, most emotional moment of the movie. I had a clear-cut winner just because it makes me so happy.
Yeah, Moon River. Using the whole fist there, Doc. Not for a lack of trying. I mean, it's just bang, 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 bang.
Same. No one even need to even go on. It's just it's just classic.
Yeah.
Does the movie need a different ending? I say no way. It's perfect. It's tight. I don't even know what you would do. They wrapped it up. They did made today. Fletch with Stanwyck going to Rio is like another 25 minutes, correct? They just end it.
I think he needs to end up with Gina Davis. This Gale Stanwyck character, although Gale's got the cash, Gina, if he's making $30,000 and $900 out the month out the door going for alimony, he's got to go for money. So Gina Davis is making half of what he's making at the LA Times or wherever he's at. So I guess it's a good choice.
Yeah, look, problem with Fletch Lives, no Gail Stanwyck, no Love Your Body Larry, nothing. It was like it never happened. So that was a problem. Hall of Fame plaques. We knocked out Harold Faltermeyer. I could scratch that out. Bobby went with a Top Gun definitive. Let's go right there, Bobby. Gina Davis. You've been kind of on her, no pun intended, all day. Love Your Body Larry. It's not going to be Fletch. It's a two-horse race here. Thelma from Thelma and Louise or Dottie from A League of Their Own baseball movie.
So how about this? Never seen My Cousin Vinny. Never seen Thelma and Louise. Really? Which one is more, if I got to watch a movie tonight, which I'm not, I'm exhausted right now, 9:04, I'm usually in bed by now, which one would I watch first?
Well, Thelma and Louise is the origin story of your guy Brad Pitt, but I think My Cousin Vinny is more fun to watch. Thelma and Louise is really iconic because of the ending and the fact that it's Brad Pitt. You know, kind of, you're like people drooling all over him. Yeah. I'd go with My Cousin Vinny, Bobby.
Okay, I think we're going to wait. I'm going to wait because we're going to do My Cousin Vinny with DJ Johnny G, correct? Doesn't he love that movie?
Yeah, he loves it. He loves it.
That'd be cool if my first watch is then we do the podcast on it. That'd be kind of a cool thing.
All right. Well, I'm going to say it's Thelma just because that would be her Apex Mountain there. George Wendt, Bobby. Fat Sam, little cameo in there. Norm from Cheers, maybe one of the all-time TV characters. Or is he a Bears superfan, Bobby? This did come out in 1985.
I would love to say Bears superfan, but he's Norm from Cheers. I got something on TikTok. Cheers was before me. I don't ever remember really watching Cheers on TV. But I guess that was his thing. He'd come in and Woody would say something to him. Hello, Norm, Mr. And then he would say some funny thing coming in. There was some good ones. There was some really good ones. So, but no, I think it's the guy from Cheers.
Very popular. Dana Wheeler-Nicholson, Mrs. Stanwyck. She was also Mrs. Mattie Earp, Bob. Terrible character in that one. But of the two, Bobby, what do you think of?
I forgot she was in Tombstone. So it's obviously this.
I agree. Gail Stanwyck. Tim Matheson. Can Otter be beaten, Bobby? Let me try. Otter from Animal House. He's the VP on West Wing for a long time. A show I never really got into. Alan Stanwyck from Fletch, Bobby. Or he was Van Wilder's dad. What is it? Otter? I mean, one of the all-time guys in a movie. What do you think?
So I tell you who it's not. It's not Alan Stanwyck because when he popped on the TV on my phone when I was watching it, I'm like, who is that? So that immediately gets rid of that. And then it went right to Animal House and Mr. Van Wilder. I'll go Mr. Van Wilder because I freaking love that movie. I don't even think that's on our list. We have to redo that one. That's a great one. That's a really
incredible movie.
Incredible movie. Incredible.
It is funny. I'll go Otter. Chevy Chase. If ever there was a triumvirate of characters, I don't know if we've had one quite like this, Bob, where the Hall of Fame plaque is three distinct people. It's almost like the 94, what's your favorite movie, Gump, Pulp, or Shawshank, where on any given day it could be. Is there anybody? I tried to think of this. I just really couldn't. Irwin M. Fletcher, Clark W. Griswold, and Ty Webb. I mean, that's as iconic as gets to have three on your name there, Bobby?
Didn't we say Jim Carrey does? Who's the third? Ace Ventura.
Well, it was The Mask was the movie, but I don't know.
No, but what's his other character? What would you?
Truman, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Well, for the purposes of this podcast, nope, there are no others. I've looked it up. It is definitive, Mark. Oh, do I have to vote?
Yeah.
Oh, do I have to vote now? Sorry, I had a Jay Fresh.
Ty Webb, Clark.
Had a Jay Fresh moment there. I was like, what's that now?
Totally caught you off guard.
Did not know where that was coming. I think I have to say, that it's still Ty Webb. If I close my eyes and think of Chevy Chase, it's Ty Webb, but I think this might be my favorite performance. So, but Ty Webb, to stay true to the category, it's Ty Webb.
I'll go Fletch, but it's close. I mean, just on any given day, could be. What Hall of Fame plaques you got, Bobby?
All right, I got best one-name movie titles of a name. We've done this before, but Alien is not it because that's not like a character. So there's a couple that I'm sure you're thinking of one right now that's like, that can't be beat. Rocky. Like, can that be beat? Well, Rambo. I'm going to wait till my winner, because when I saw it, I was like, that's it. Rocky, Rambo, Joker, Aladdin, pretty good one, Jaws, Avatar, which is kind of cheating, and then my winner, Bambi. Is there anything better than that? Bambi. I just saw Bambi, I'm like, that's awesome. That's perfect. Mark, what's the best one name? I'm sure I'm missing some.
Yeah, no offense to Bambi, but I think it's Rocky.
Best nickname in a movie. You've got the dude. You've got Fletch, which is technically not his name, right? So it's a nickname, Fletch. You got Snake Plissken. You got Megasonic Teenage Warhead. You got Tyler Durden, which is technically a nickname, kind of. And then you got Neo.
Neo's pretty cool.
Neo's pretty good. Best Laker of all time. Magic, Kobe, Kareem, or Shaq?
Magic, Kobe, Kareem, or Shaq. You know, when I think of the Lakers, I think of Magic.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's the best, but I with Shaq, he's more of like the Orlando Magic guy, because I was there when that whole thing went down, and it was really like a phenomenon. Kobe's probably the best, but Magic to me is the Lakers. You?
Kareem a distant fourth for you, huh?
Yeah, I think he's more of a Minneapolis Laker. Who do you got?
It's funny the way you described it. When you think of the Lake, it's Showtime. It's Magic. I mean, can you believe a guy that plays like that with that personality, with the nickname Magic, goes to the Lakers? And just is Showtime. It's probably good. Maybe it'd be better if he went to the Magic, but I don't think they existed. I don't think they existed back then. Yeah, I'm just thinking about this too. Is there a better? Probably no NBA franchise with 4 players to that caliber. I mean, that's amazing, right?
The Celtics has got to be the only one to even come close, right?
Yeah. And save your texts and emails. Yeah, LeBron is not on that list. So go pound sand, whoever's saying that.
Come on. Like, he's out for 6 weeks, got brushed in the face.
That's technically not why, but that's fine. That's fine. So I tell you what, this isn't a Hall of Fame plaque, but it just goes to show you we have a spot in this genre, Mark, because the people that are making these lists just have no idea what they're talking about. Listen to this, Mark. I'm going to give you the AFI, okay? Because this got nominated for the AFI, top this and that. My voice is going. Here's a list of the AFI top 10 comedies. You ready?
Yep.
Don't grab your pencil because you're not going to write any of them down. Number 1. No, I'll go 10. I'll go 10. Airplane, okay. You think, okay, this list is going to be good. The Graduate, It Happened One Night. MASH. Blazing Saddles, okay. Duck Soup at number 4. Annie Hall at number 3. At number 4. Dr. Strangelove. Can't wait to do that one on the podcast. Tootsie. And the number 1 comedy of all time, Some Like It Hot.
Wow.
Mark, worst decision, whoever they put in charge of AFI's top 10 comedies. The first comedy that even enters the realm of what we're doing, Something About Mary at 27. And this just shows how bad the list. Sorry, Kevin Lawhon, and sorry, Mark. Groundhog Day at number 34. I mean, come on. Come on. As John Haught, Bean loves, what are we doing? What are we doing?
That's a bad list. I think I had seen 4 of them as you went through there, but they would never come up on a list of anything.
What you saw: Airplane, Blazing Saddles, Tootsie and The Graduate?
MASH.
MASH. Okay. When are we doing those? On the podcast. When are we doing those? Never?
I could see doing Blazing Saddles.
Yeah. So Tom Pozotic month. I think we'll do that in Tom Pozotic month.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, last one. Best fake name character. You called me. You texted me, said this better be a Hall of Fame plaque. All right, so best fake name that Fletch used.
From this movie, yeah. All right, let's do it.
G. Gordon Liddy, Harry S. Truman, John Cocktoson, Dr. Rosen Penis, Dr. Rosen, Dr. Rosen, Mr. Poon, Ted Nugent, Arnold Babar, Igor Stravinsky, Don Corleone, the Mattress Police, Jane Doe, Frida's Boss, and Fletch K. Fletch.
That list and why I'm laughing is the perfect example. I don't know why any of it's funny. It just is. I think John Cocktoson is my favorite. I don't know what's the best. Where do you go with? Poon is incredible. Dr. Rosen, Babar. It's God. It's just tie. Can we tie them all? What do you go with?
I got the most kick out of, not the most kick, but all of those are totally, Dr. Rosenpenis made up, John Cocktoson made up, Mr. Poon, Babar. I'm Harry S. Truman.
Parents were big fans of the former president?
Parents are big fans. He was a great man. Nah, drop the bomb. Drop two of them.
Oh, gosh. Crazy.
That's it, Mark. Great job. You win again.
Go really on a roll here. MVP, Bobby. Is there anybody other than Chevy Chase who could even be?
Wait, let me give you my fresh.
The answers are not on the ceiling.
Oh gosh. So what's that again? What are we doing?
That was actually
Fresh.
Really good.
Fresh. We love you. We love you, Fresh. We love you.
Who was more of an MVP, Bobby? Chris Farley and Tommy Boy, or Chevy Chase in this thing?
Well, there's no sidekick in this movie. Yeah. There's none. Like at least Richard.
All him.
And one of his cohorts got an award named for him on the podcast. So yeah, it's Chevy Chase.
Bob, we couldn't even end with PozCast predictions last week because Fresh had thrown us off the scent here a little bit. But I'm going to ask you a specific question, Bob, that I want your predictions for. We are in March, Bobby. One of the greatest days of the year is almost upon us here for Selection Sunday. I don't watch nearly as much college basketball as I once did, and I don't really know who's going to be good. But I love when those brackets come out. There's something about it. They've really figured it out. So I ask you, Bobby, and that is not as easy as this would have been about 10 hours ago if you're following what happened in the ACC tournament, Bobby. Who will be the 4 number 1 seeds?
Oh, I thought you were going to go who's in the Final Four.
No, we'll do that next once the brackets come out. Who are the 4 1 seeds?
I didn't even see Duke lost.
No, Cooper Flag got hurt.
Like hurt? I thought I saw the headline I read didn't make it sound like it was that bad, but it was.
Well, they don't really know, but it looks like he's not going to play tomorrow against Carolina. Which why would you at this point?
So it's not a Kenyon. It's not a Kenyon Martin thing. Where
doesn't appear to be. But there is talk could they drop down a seed? That kind of thing. But who do you got? Who are your 4 number 1 seeds?
Well, again, I was just telling the story. People still think I'm the resident college basketball expert just because I had a cup of coffee in that profession, but I haven't watched it as much as I have. But I would say the teams that I have seen and talking to Coach Matt, the Gators are really, really good. I don't know if if you're an SEC coach, do you try to win this tournament? It just seems like I don't know if there has to be some diminishing returns playing top 5 teams for 5 straight weeks or 4 straight days. You know what I mean? But I think Florida, Auburn, Houston, and Duke are probably the 4 best teams.
That's exactly what Joe Lenardi told me. I looked it up before we got on here.
Oh, wow,
so,
look at me. Look at me. Yeah, nice.
Look at you, Bobby. But now next week, Bobby, when we do this, I will ask you for your Final 4. Now, it's possible. Well, I might throw some other questions in there, depending on when we do it. Some games will have been played, so hopefully nothing crazy happens. So get yourself ready for some picks, Bobby.
Okay.
Next week for the madness. But Bobby Fletch, what a treat. Tommy Boy last week for you. Fletch for me this week. Been a blast. See you next week on the PozCast.